Okay, so I'm making this video for the people who are really having hard time with your homework factoring trinomial number 2. So I want to just go over the few of the questions here. So let's go over the first one. Question number 1. It says 3k squared plus 7k plus 4. It says factor each completely. So remember if you remember the flow chart, if you look at that, if it's a trinomial on number 3, it says look at the leading coefficients. If the leading coefficient is not 1, you multiply A and C. What does that mean? So when you have your problem, and this is a trinomial, since there are 3 terms, what we do is we multiply A and C, the coefficient of k squared and then number, you multiply them, put it on the top, that's 12. And the bottom number will be 7. Now, what we are doing is we need to come up with 2 numbers that multiply to 12 that are adding up to 7. So what are 2 numbers that multiply to 12 that are adding up to 7, which is 3 and 4. Okay? So when we have a trinomial and we want to factor completely, we have to check for GCF and then we need to do X. Once you set up the X, the top number is multiplying A and C. The bottom number is the B, 7. So I come up with 2 numbers that are multiplied to 12 and that are adding up to 7. Once I do that, I need to rewrite the trinomial into 4 terms. So what I do is I just put 3k squared as it is. That was the first term. I just bring that down. And I bring down positive 4. And what I do is from these 2 numbers, 3x plus 4x is 7x, 7k. So what we do, I just break them into 2 parts, which is 3k plus 4k. Correct? So now from trinomial, now we have 4 terms. So when we have 4 terms, you know what to do. We just need to use grouping. We do 2 by 2 grouping. What is a common factor between 3k squared and 3k? 3k. Okay, so we're going to factor out of 3k from 3 squared, 3k squared, which is k. 3k divided by 3k is 1. Now, let's take a look at 4k and 4. What's a common factor between those two? 4. So I'm going to divide 4k divided by 4, which is k. 4 divided by 4 is plus 1. Yay! Now I have common factor of k plus 1, k plus 1. So what we do is I just need to write k plus 1 one time. And what is another factor? 3k plus 4. Then I'm done. Okay. I'm going to try another one. So let's try number 2. So again, since it's trinomial, we need to multiply A and C and put it on the top. 7 times negative 20 is negative 140. Bottom number is 4. Okay. What are factors of negative 140 that are adding up to 4? 14 and negative 10. Then what do? We need to come up. We need to bring down the first term. We need to bring down the last term. And then we're going to break this 4a into 14a and negative 10a. So 14a, positive 14a, minus 10a. Correct? Okay. So we can double check. 14a minus 10a, is that 4a? Yes. Now then we do grouping. Since we have 4 terms, I'm going to group first 2. And I'm going to group later 2. Make sure you put this negative sign inside of the ladder so we can factor out of negative. 7a squared plus 14a, the common factor is 7a. Divide by this, it's going to be a plus 2. Now, if the leading coefficient is negative, you remember I need to factor out of negative. Between 10 and 20, the 10 is the factor. So if you divide this again, it's going to be a plus 2. Yay! We have another common factor. So what we do, I just write that one time. And then I bring down another factor, 7a minus 10. Correct? Now, let's take a look at the next question. It looks a little bit different. Okay? 4r squared plus 10r minus 24. Now, this one is a little bit interesting because anytime, remember, if you look at the flow chart, I told you the first thing that we need to check for is what? Let's see here. Check for greatest common factor. So we need to check for greatest common factor. What is the greatest common factor out of these three? 4, 10, negative 24. Greatest common factor is 2. And I factor out 2 from every single term. Then it's going to be 2r squared plus 5r minus 12. Then I'm going to do x from now on. What do I need to do? I need to multiply 2 times negative 12, which is negative 24. What goes on the bottom of the x? 5. What are factors of negative 24 that are adding up to 5? Which is 8 and negative 3. Okay. And as you know, when we have trinomial, we need to make them into 4 terms. So 2r squared, I bring down plus 8r, I got numbers from here, minus 3r minus 12. Let's bring down this one. Some people that are trying to bring down negative 24 and 4r squared, we don't do that. We always work with a new trinomial. Once you get that, we're going to use grouping. What's the GCF between these two? Greatest common factor, 2r. So we have r plus 4 here. Now again, if the leading coefficient is negative, we need to factor out of negative. We factor out of negative 3, since 3 and 12, they both can be divided by 3. So then what we have left, r plus 4. Oh, again here guys, r plus 4, r plus 4. We have a common factor. So when we have a common factor, we only write it one time. And then we bring down the common factor, 2r minus 3. Am I done? We forgot about one thing. What did we forget about? The GCF, the greatest common factor that we factor out at the beginning. So we gotta bring that down, and that's gonna be my answer. Okay? Then you should be able to do the rest by yourself, and I posted the answers on the blackboard, so please check your answers as you go. Have a good day. Bye.